Good morning. This is Monday, November 21st. This is Don the Idea Guy, your friend from dontheideaguy.com. And this is episode 50 of Running Through My Mind, the only broadcast from a parking lot. And we've hit episode 50. Man, that's huge for a podcast I decided to start literally on the spur of the moment during a morning drive to the office. And we made it a daily podcast together. We went 50 weekdays in a row. Didn't miss an episode. And some of them have been very good. I've been very proud of them. And some of them have been rambly and long and WTF. And that's okay too, because that was kind of the point of the podcast. This was an experiment, my friends, and we all survived it. And episode 50, I wasn't sure if I was even going to enjoy doing the podcast. I wasn't sure if I'd have something interesting to talk about every day, and some may argue that I did not. I might be one of those people. Not every episode was 4 stars, certainly, but I don't think any of them were 1 star, which is good. And I don't think any were 2 stars, but I wouldn't mind. You try things, you get 2 stars sometimes. But there were also some 5-star episodes. I was really proud of some of these. I'm glad that these 50 episodes are going to be out there to represent me in the future. And when people are Googling information and podcasts about me and that kind of stuff, they're going to find this content if they're looking for it. So if you haven't caught the drift and you haven't been playing along with the home version of the game, I decided to call it quits to this episode on episode 50 because it served its purpose. It was to demonstrate to the people that I talk to on a consulting basis that there's not an excuse to produce content. There's no excuse not to produce. That may end up being a sticky note. There's no reason you can't put content out in the world. There's no avenue that you can't share your thoughts and ideas with the world, and you'll build an audience. It might be a small audience, but you'll build an audience of people who are interested in the things that you have to say and your concepts, and they want to share ideas with you and strike up conversations with you. I've started conversations with 3 to 5 people off of this podcast, which isn't bad when you consider it's been 10 weeks. I mean, that's just over 2 months, and I've had an average of 1 a week. Let's call it 5 people, because it's still probably a conservative number. So let's say that's an average of, 1 every 2 weeks that I've connected with and struck up a real conversation with, or traded emails with, perhaps even turned into a client. It's been a great experience. It's been a great exercise and experiment in the ability to produce content on a reliable schedule, to produce it with no investment of money at all. I mean, we all have a smartphone, and that's what I record every one of these episodes on. I do use a Bluetooth headset, but it's likely you have one as well that you use for exercising or talking on the phone in your car. But even if it's just a wired headset, I still have the iPhone that has the headphone plug in it, so you could use one of those as well. And it's just the mic that goes with the headset. There's no special setup. There's no special room with audio tiles on the wall. I have recorded every single one of these episodes from the front seat of my car while sitting in a parking lot. That's it. So anybody who tells you, and if you're telling yourself that it would just be a headache to get started and I need to buy the $500 microphone, which it's amazing how many people I've worked with in the radio industry who've had a career of being on the air. And when you talk to them about starting a podcast, I mean, they just won't start it without a mixing board and a microphone. And, you just don't need that. Not to get your message out there. We're not producing this for going over the airwaves of a 100,000 watt station or anything. This is a candid conversation between you and a group of people who are interested in what you have to say. Have the conversation. I mean, we don't worry about sitting in the perfect chair whenever we're having a talk with somebody. We don't worry about meeting in the perfect meeting space when we meet with somebody. The coffee shop is a phenomenal place to sit down and meet. Speaking of coffee, I want to send a special thank you to the one and only sponsor of this podcast, and that's Drip Joy Coffee. I approached them probably 5 episodes in when I knew I was going to keep doing it. I saw a tweet from Dripjoy, their Twitter handle is @DripJoy, that they were launching a subscription coffee service. And if anybody knows me, or if you listen to some of this content, you know I love coffee. I draw a direct connection between consuming caffeine, typically in coffee form, and creative ideas and sharing those ideas with people. And so when I saw their tweet, I said, hey, you're starting a coffee company. I'm starting a podcast. We should work together. And they were up for it. And they sent me a case of 4 of their different blends. And I've enjoyed every single one of them. But my favorite, I'm ending the episode on my favorite, which is Dark Bean Daydream. And, we're going to have a relationship beyond this podcast because I'm absolutely going to be a customer of theirs for as long as they're around, probably, as long as the K-Cups are still a thing, because it works in my Keurig brewer and it takes my brain off of having to worry about how much coffee I have at home because I can get it delivered there every day. So if you want to find out more about Dripjoy or just shoot them an email to say, hey, thanks for sponsoring the podcast, you can go to dontheideaguy.com/dripjoy. As we wrap up this last episode, let this serve as the example of whatever it is you're thinking about doing, dive in. Whatever you thought felt scary or intimidating, or that you just pushed off with the excuse, I don't have the time, you've got the time. 5 minutes a day in the car, I've got a daily podcast. 5 minutes a day in the car, and I got new customers. 5 minutes a day in the car, and I was able to bring thoughts out of my head into the real world. Some of them have even turned into projects. Some of them are going to turn into projects. I've got them on the schedule. And this is not the end of this podcast. It's just going to evolve into something else. I've thought about this since I decided to end this podcast, and that is, I like the idea of a daily episode, but I want to make sure that the message is something of value. So if I continue the daily podcast, I have a feeling it might be a podcast version of Big Yellow Sticky. If you've been to bigyellowsticky.com, you know that I've been doing a daily quote, typically an original quote, an original thought on some topic that's in my brain. And I write that by hand on a 3x3 yellow sticky note. I take a picture of it, I share it in social media, and I post it on the website. You can sign up for the email list and you'll get a new version of that every morning. And it's just something to look at and maybe apply to your day. Maybe you apply to a future concept. But it's something, the first year I did them, they were all notes to myself. That was the big secret at the end of the year, is every single one of those sticky notes was a note to me. And then the second year, I've been posting themes. It might be a themed topic on customer loyalty or sales, or it might be like for November, I'm playing off the word November through the whole month, but I'm applying different things that you could do in the month to further your goals, make better connections, and just add a little more thought and enthusiasm to your month. So I may do a podcast version of that. Now, if I do that and I adhere to the daily piece, it'll be a 7-day-a-week podcast because I draw a yellow sticky note every single day. I don't know if I'm going to do a recap show and do 1 episode a week and I'll just cover the themes, or if I will indeed do 1 a day. If I do that, I'll start with 2017. I've already decided I'm going to continue the sticky notes for another year. I think 2017 is going to be the year that Big Yellow Sticky turns a profit, because it's still been kind of an art project that's not been a money maker, but that wasn't the original goal. But I I just believe it's got a lot of potential, and that audience is growing. The other thing is, I believe the other solo podcast I'm going to do will be weekly, and it will be called Sales Toys. I've had the domain salestoys.com for several years. I used to sell at Specialties, and I started that as a page to share the different imprinted promotional products that companies could use, along with ideas on how to build campaigns around them. And it evolved into cool toys and tools that you could use to make sales in general. I may do a blend of both of those topics, but it'll certainly be sharing sales toys, things that professional and amateur salespeople can use to help them close more sales, connect with more prospects. That's going to be a weekly show. And the blog is up now. You can go take a look at it. It's older posts. As I end this and as I wrap up this podcast project and launch the next one, you're going to start to see some more posts go live there. And then I've mentioned before, I've got 2 or 3 podcasts that will also likely be weekly, maybe every other week, where I've got a co-host on a topic. One will most certainly be marketing. It will be targeted to the advertising and media industry, and I'm hopefully going to nail down what that is within the next 2 weeks. That would also likely start after the beginning of the year. It might even go into February or March, because January and February are notoriously slow months for the media industry. And the other one will, with another host, will likely be on personal branding. I've been doing that for a long time. I've been Don the Idea Guy for a lot of years. I've had one of my friends refer to me as the OG of personal branding, which I think is hilarious. And there's a friend of mine that I've met through other projects who she's in the process of just kind of nailing her personal brand, and she's got a great image, got great calls to action, and if anything, she's way more organized than I am. So I think we're going to build that podcast out as well. That'll probably be weekly, and I don't know when we'll start that one yet. Maybe we'll do a episode 0 for December. It'll kind of depend what both our schedules are, but no matter what happens next, I hope you'll visit dontheideaguy.com. The best place to keep track of the next project that I'm working on is to jump on the mailing list there, because I always tell my friends about it first. And if you've enjoyed taking this journey with me, because I know a lot of the people I've spoken to, it's the first time you've heard of me. So again, proving the concept of podcasting is a valuable medium. I've earned new relationships, and I've met new people through this exercise, and hopefully we're going to continue that conversation beyond this episode 50. And the best way to do that is to sign up for the mailing list, and let me know if you've got a mailing list. I'll sign up on your site as well. But reach out, introduce yourself, shoot me an email, connect with me on social media. The best place to find links and to find the different ways to connect me is on my website, dontheideaguy.com. Until then, this has been great. Thanks for being along on the journey with me. It's a lot more fun with friends. And I hope that I wish you much success on your next project, and tell me about it. And I will help spin some buzz your way, and maybe we can work together on a future project. Thank you. And this is Don the Idea Guy signing off. And I hope to talk to you soon on dontheideaguy.com. Bye.